Morning. How are we doing? All feeling good? Okay, I just want to touch on a few things first of what Dean said there. Talking into his challenges. Raise your hands if you've had some challenges in your life. Okay, if you haven't got your hands up, you're definitely a liar. He talked into a lot of things there, didn't he? A lot of personal things. From going bankrupt, losing his business, his health. But here's the thing, guys. We all experience these things, would you agree? That through life has this ability, especially when things are going well, to pull the rug from underneath of you. Raise your hands if you've experienced that before. Yeah, definitely. So, what these 2 days are about, I've brought some absolute world-class speakers to speak for these 2 days. I want you to just relax. I want you to know that in this room that it's a safe environment and that we're all here because we want to improve our results. No matter where you are right now, we can all progress. We can all move forward. There's always room for improving our life in a little bit of an area, whatever area that is that you're looking to improve. So I want you to just accept that life has its challenges. I want you to just be open with the fact that life doesn't need to be perfect, that you don't need to control everything all the time. So I'm having a little bit of a laugh at me today. So I'm known for cutting my own hair. And I do that not because I've got no money, but because it's just the speed thing. So sometimes I'm just like, I can't be asked going to the barbers, and I'll cut my own hair. So I thought the other day, normally if I have an event, I'll make the effort to go to the barbers. And I thought to myself, shit, didn't go to the barbers and it's Sunday, I'm not going to get anywhere now. I'll have to cut it in the morning. So I was whipping my hair up this morning, and I went and clipped my number 1 on by accident and went bzzz, and I was like, oh shit, that's a bit short. So if my hair looks like a bit of a bowl around the back or anything like that, that's because of that reason. Guys, just let go a little bit. Let go with life. It doesn't have to be that. We don't have to control everything. Allow yourself to laugh at yourself, at your mistakes. Did anyone see the post I put on Facebook the other day? Anyone see that? Raise your hands. A few of you. Yes, the one with my pants. I'm 44. I pooed my pants. Yeah. And I put it on Facebook. Because if people, I'm all right with people laughing at me if that cheers them up. Because we take things too seriously. We're all looking for this approval. We're all looking for validation from others. And when you're looking for that, you create this pressure in life. And I want you to just let go. I want you to let go over these couple of days. We've got some amazing speakers. So, I'm going to get my little sheet out and I'm going to tell you about a little bit about who we've got coming and what's going to happen. So I'm going to go over some things this morning, and then we have the pleasure of having Carl Smith, and he's going to be coming in on Zoom. So I put a post on that on the Mighty Rec car this morning. Carl's one of the, he's a hypnotherapist. And he's employed by the Army, by the British Army, so the more severe cases of PTSD. And bearing in mind, I've got friends that have served that. Some of them weren't fortunate enough to come back. I've lost a few good friends. Some that did come back have now lost both legs and arms. I've got friends that are triple amputees. Carl's employed by the military to go in and deal with the most severe cases of trauma, stress, and PTSD. And he's going to be speaking this morning. He's going to share some nuggets with you guys for around about an hour. So he's going to be on the big screens after me. He's an absolute genius at what he does, a world-renowned speaker. Then we're going to have, so there's a break after I speak, and then Carl's going to come on. And then after lunch, we've got somebody who I met probably a few years ago for being on social media and being quite outspoken. And I remember seeing one of her posts, and I thought, that's quite brave for you to come out and talk about something like that, because people are not willing to address these things around mental health, around stresses. So we have Ellie Mackay. Anybody know Ellie Mackay? Raise your hands if, okay, some of you have heard of Ellie Mackay. So Ellie's going to be coming, and Dean's going to do a bit of a Q&A with her. Ellie's experienced, just like Carl, a lot of her own challenges as well, a lot of her own mental health. She's very successful now in the property world, building her own businesses up. She's interviewed some really top celebs on her podcast. So again, she's somebody who's shared challenges as well. Then, Christina, is she in the room? Is she here yet? Okay. So, we might have somebody speaking for a short spell, and I don't know if that's going to happen yet. It's going to be around about 15, 20 minutes if it does. So, a couple of years ago, I'm a believer in giving back, and I got asked if I'd go speak to a kind of youth club. It was kids that have been either kicked out of school or they had the challenges, maybe things at home. So I went and spoke at this particular youth club in Redcar. And this young lady came over to me and had a bit of a chat. She said, "Can I come over? Can I have a look at your car?" So she came out, showed her my car, and she started telling me a little bit about herself. And I was just like, shit. You think you've got problems, and there's a kid here sharing things like that. And she's kept in touch. I've seen somebody who wanted to progress, somebody who's had some real challenges in her life. And she messaged me a couple of weeks ago, just saying, "Loved your post this morning, really give me some motivation." And I thought about her journey and what she's done. And I said to her, "Would you be willing to come and share your experience on the stage in front of a room of people?" And this is someone who's had a lot of challenges in her life. She's not a speaker. She's had no training at all to do anything like this. She's never shared her story before. And she said to me, "If it helps just one person, I'm willing to do that." She's quite nervous. She's never done it before. So hopefully she will be gracing us on the stage for a little bit too. We've then got a break, and then to finish off the day, a really good friend of mine and somebody who is one of the world-renowned speakers. He spoke on the top stages with presidents and really big names. And this guy started his journey off as a mental health nurse. So that was his profession. He was actually a mental health nurse. And he worked on a ward where there was a lot of self-harm. So there was a lot of people trying to take their own life, trying to hurt themselves and things like that. And what he found was the sort of rule book, should we say, of how they should be dealing with their patients. He didn't want to treat people as a number. So what he did was he started to give people a purpose. He started to give them jobs, and he started to make them feel valued. And what he found was when he gave them some responsibility and made them feel special, that he was actually able to make some real change. And he felt trapped within the system, that he was taught that he had to do X, Y, and Z, but X, Y, and Z wasn't actually the best way. So he left that profession. He's still very much involved in dealing with mental health, very, very successful business guy, and he's going to be on Zoom as well at the end of today from Kent, sharing some nuggets as well. So that's day one. As Dean said, please come for both days because you'll get so much more benefit. Tomorrow, we've got first thing in the morning, again, another young lady speaking, somebody who I find very inspirational, somebody who came over to me in an event in Leeds probably about 3 years ago now. So I was speaking on a stage in Leeds. It was a fairly big room. It was over 140, 150 people in the room. And this young lady came up to the stage. I could tell she was really nervous. And I was running a property event. And she said, "I'd love to do this property event, but do you think I'd be able to do it? I'm only young. I work at Primark part-time. not got a lot of confidence, and she didn't know if she'd be able to do it. And I said, that's my job. If you come to the training, I'll show you how to do it. And off the back of that now, she's built her own property portfolio, and she's got this real passion for helping other people because of what it's done for her. So I asked her if she would speak about a year and a half ago on a multi-speaker event with some really well-seasoned speakers, and she absolutely owned it. The one person that people said owned the stage was her. So I've asked her if she'll come back again. So Simran is going to be speaking on day 2. We've then got a guy who's a bit of a late entry, came on yesterday. And again, there's a bit of a story, and I'm sure he'll share this. So the very first Strength to Succeed we done in Middlesbrough, there was a guy came over to me and he said, absolutely love that. I love the mindset. I've watched some of your things over the last couple of years. If there's ever an opportunity to speak on stage with you, would you give me it? Now, I get asked this quite a lot, so I said, yeah, if ever there's a slot, I'll let you know. This guy has been persistent for about 3 years, asking me, have you got a slot, have you got a slot? And then he disappeared for a little bit. And then he messaged me about a month ago and said, I see you doing Strength to Succeed again. Will you give me a slot on it? And I said, they're all full, but I'll definitely give you one in July. I thought, I've got to give this guy a chance because he's been asking me for forever. And then about a week later, he messaged me back and went, any cancellations, with a smiley face. And I said, no, unfortunately not. We've got all of the speakers. And then about a week later, he came back again. Any cancellations? And I said, no, not yet, but I'll let you know if there is. And then yesterday, we happened to have a slot come available. And he messaged me again. So I literally got one of the speakers saying, I can't make it. And I was like, oh, that's a bit close. And then about 5 minutes later, while I'm thinking, right, how am I going to fill that gap? I could always take it myself. Another message, it's Joe. Any slots available? And I go, you're in. And he goes, great, I visualized it. I knew I was going to be speaking. So Joe's actually speaking tomorrow. And then we've got Helen Bartram. Some of you might know Helen. She's local. Helen's partner, Neil, used to work for me. And just watching their journey over the last couple of years has just been really amazing. Helen's really passionate about helping other people, and she will be speaking as well. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to do a powerful session, some guided meditation with you all. So I'm going to take you to a deep state of relaxation. It's really good for releasing any trauma. It's really good for clearing the mind and giving you some real clarity. So that's going to be the basically the schedule over the next couple of days. So I'm going to talk over a couple of things now. I'm not going to use any slides today. That's my notes, that's it. So I'm just going to talk over a couple of little things. Wherever you are right now, we all have perception. And Jessen's going to be talking about this later on today in his model as the last model of today. So if you think of it now, raise your hands if you can resonate with this. That something can happen, the exact same thing can happen to two different people, but they get a different experience. Raise your hands if you'd agree with that. Yeah. So what is that? What is that? Perception. Absolutely. So what that tells us, guys, is it's not actually what happens to us in life. It's how we see what happens to us in life. Can you see that? So it's the meaning that we actually put to that particular thing. So this is the reason why some people are very tolerant to stress, and some people can get stressed quite easily. And it might be certain areas that can get us stressed out quite easily. So it's just all about shifting perception, and it's about having more tools in your toolbox. That's how I like to look at it. So can you imagine now, you've got a big shiny toolbox, and in your toolbox, you open it up, and your only tool is a hammer. You're going to treat every situation like it's a nail. Now, that might be great. If the job's putting a nail in a piece of wood and you get out your shiny hammer, great. That's going to deal with that situation perfectly. But what if it was cutting a couple of inches off the bottom of a door? What happens if it was putting some delicate screws into a hinge? Would the hammer be the best tool for that situation? It wouldn't, would it? So the more tools that you have, guys, the easier life becomes. And as Dean said, I'm quite controversial. You've probably gathered that now. So what certain people say is the right way to deal with things, I have my own method. And I'm a big believer in dealing with the cause, not the effect. So I'll give you an example of that. If, for example, you were given some paracetamol for a headache to cure the headache that you've got, but there's somebody sat behind you whacking you on the head with a hammer every 15 minutes, the paracetamol's not going to do that much good for you. Can you see that? So to deal with the cause would be to get the hammer off the dickhead behind you and say, stop banging me on the head, you're giving me a headache. You get the gist. So I'm a big believer in dealing with the root problem. What is the reason that we've got the problem in the first place? And if you can delve into the problem, then the solution, the cause, it'll actually, if you work on the cause, the effect will take care of itself. Can you see that? So where some people are at that other end of it, of give you a cuddle or throw medication at it, we're not actually looking at what is the problem in the first place. Why is somebody feeling that particular way? Why is somebody upset? Why is somebody sad? Why are they grieving? Now, I commented on a post this morning on Facebook, somebody who's recently lost their dad. And I know that girl, and I know the person who died as well. Now, if somebody comes with a situation like that and they're feeling sad, of course you're going to feel sad. Raise your hands if you've lost somebody and you've grieved and you know what that feels like. Exactly. So that doesn't mean you've got depression. What it means is it's a little bit of grief, and it's how you're actually dealing with that particular thing. So I'm a big believer in getting to the cause. I'm a big believer in giving you more tools for your toolbox. And the more tools we have, the easier it is. Life becomes easier. So I want to give you one example. Raise your hands, and I want you to be honest with me, guys. This is a forum where we can be really open, and I'm going to share some personal things of myself, of suffering from PTSD and having a therapist myself. Raise your hands if you suffer from overwhelm at any time. Okay, look around the room. Look at how many people we're talking. Most of the room. Now, overwhelm happens for two reasons, predominantly. One, it's you're bunching too many things in a wanna. So what we do is something like this. We go, oh, today I've got to do that, and 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 then tomorrow I've got to do that. Oh, next week I've got to do that, and next year I've got to do that, and we treat it as if we've got to do the whole lot right now and it's all urgent. Raise your hands if you can resonate with that. Okay. I used to be very good at doing that. I used to be very good at creating my own overwhelm. Creating these huge job lists. Raise your hands if you're a job lister. Yeah. Most people are. And maybe it's like me, if you did a job and it wasn't on your job list, you'd have to write it on so you could cross it off. Yeah? Raise your hands if you do that. Look around the room, guys. Okay. So what I do now, I've got a different approach. People say to me, you must be so stressed. You've got all these businesses, you've got all of these properties, you've got all of these things going on. You must suffer from real stress. I wouldn't want your success because of all the stress that comes with it. I'm probably the most unstressed person you'll ever meet. I don't get stressed. I don't. Because I focus on one thing at a time. I've got rid of my job lists. I've got rid of these huge lists, and I've learned to prioritize things What is the main thing I need to do now? And I ask myself this question. What are the 5 things I can do today that are going to have the biggest impact on both my life and other people's lives? What are the 5 things I can do today that are going to have the biggest impact on my life and other people's lives? And then I prioritize them. And once I know what them top 5 are, I only work on one at a time. So I'm not even thinking about 2, 3, 4, or 5. I'm thinking of one thing. Now, I want you to think of this now, guys. If you've only got one thing to think about, how can you possibly be overwhelmed? Overwhelm comes because we start looking at all of these different things. Now, would you agree that, I mean, you might be able to sort of multitask to a certain level. You might be able to text on your phone or something like that while you're making a cup of tea. But real sort of tasks that one might be going to phone up and pay your council tax bill, and one might be going to pick the kids up from school, and one might be going for a job interview. Would you agree that you can't do bigger tasks like that at the same time? I would certainly struggle. So look at what your priorities are. Look at what you need to do. What's the main things that you need to do? What is that one thing you need to do? And get rid of all the rest. Don't overload yourself. Now, that one thing alone there gives you another tool for your toolbox. It's another skill. So let's say, for example, going back again, the situation you're dealing with is a nail, and you've got a nice shiny hammer. Great. I've got my hammer, I can deal with that situation every single time. So looking at overwhelm now from a different angle, instead of having huge job lists and actually breaking it down into what's actually important and what is the main thing I could do right now that would have the biggest impact, that different approach is another tool for your toolbox. So what it means now is when you open your shiny toolbox, you've got 2 tools in your toolbox. Can you see that? So different ways of looking at different things give you a different tool each time. And the more tools that you have, when you open that toolbox, it's now got 50 different tools. And they're all laid out nice and neat. This one's for cutting doors. This one's for screws. This one's for nails. This one's for planing down a bit of a door. This one's for cutting down big things like trees. You've got all of these different tools in your toolbox. And the more tools you've got, it doesn't matter what life throws at you. You can go, I've got the solution for that. It's a nail, I need my hammer. Oh, it's a screw, yeah, my screwdriver. So by working on yourself, personal growth, what it's actually doing is it's giving you tools in your toolbox. And the more you work on yourself, the more tools you'll pick up along your journey. So that's how I want you to think about that. The other thing which we get stress from is perception. So one is a lack of tools in our toolbox, so not having the skill set. And the other one's perception of how we actually look at things. So as I've said, 2 people can have exactly the same experience, but get a completely different outcome. So who's seen Retca's beacon? Raise your hands if you're from Retka or you've seen the beacon. Okay. So some people absolutely hate that beacon, and they call it a rust bucket, and they say it's the worst possible thing in the world. And some people absolutely love the beacon, and they say it's nice. They're looking at the LED lights. So it's all about where your focus is. It's all about where your focus is. Are you focusing on the LED lights, or are you focusing on the little bit of rust that's on the metal panels? Would you agree that they both exist? Yeah? So it's about where we put our focus. So over the next couple of days, the speakers are specifically trained in order to shift your perception. And if you shift your perception, you don't even need to change your problems on the outside, because you've now got a completely different viewpoint towards them. Can you see that? So something which I put in one of my posts this morning around pain. I want you to think of it like this. Raise your hands now and just be honest with me. Is there anyone that's a little bit comfortable of being in bigger audiences usually? You prefer to not be in a bigger audience. Is there anybody? There's normally more than that. Okay, hands are going up. Good. Okay, so I put on a post in the Mighty Wrecker group a few days ago that I'm normally the person, if I was to come to an event, I'd be the one that sort of sneaks in, sits on the end, and that way I don't have to talk to anyone. And that's just my personality. And people think because I come on the stage and because I'm in the public eye that I'm this huge extrovert. I'm not. I'm completely the opposite. I prefer to be by myself. I like my own company. And I sometimes struggle with communication with people when I'm not doing this stuff. I just prefer to be by myself. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm cool with that. I don't have an issue with that. It's just my personality. That's how I am. That's my preference. So, if you think about pain and uncomfort and not being around people, so I've got family members who have had parts of their life where it might have started off that they came to a particular place or went to somewhere and they were a little bit uncomfortable being in a big audience like that. And then they thought, I'm not going to go to that. I felt a little bit uncomfortable. And then maybe it's a couple of weeks later, they go downtown in a busy high street and they think there's too many people here. I feel a little bit uncomfortable. So what they do then is they say, I'll go to the shops on a Wednesday morning when I know it's going to be a little bit more quiet. And they go into the shops and then they get uncomfortable with that level. So what they do now is they start to go to the corner shop instead of going to the high street. And then they get to the point where one or two people in the corner shop is too many. And then they get to the point where they can't leave the house. And I've had family members that have gone through that process. So what happens, guys, with any sort of pain is, I hate to say this, I'd love to be able to give you all a magic pill right now and your problems go away. Your problems are never going away, ever. I'm sorry to tell you that. Your problems are never going away, but we can learn to reframe them and we can learn to use them to our advantage. And then actually, we can start to enjoy our problems. So let me tell you why. Raise your hands if you're here because there's at least one area of your life you want to improve. Okay. So, I want you to think about this now. We grow from having problems. So think about tying your shoelaces when you were sort of 3, 4, 5 years old. If you'd have wished that problem away, what would be the outcome today? Couldn't tie your shoelaces. So if you wished the problem away, you'd have never been able to tie your shoelaces. Agree? Okay? So you cannot grow and develop and wish your problems away at the same time. That's impossible. That's like trying to walk that way and that way at the same time. You can't do that. It's one or the other. So the very fact that you are all in this room, it tells me that you want to improve at least one area of your life. And if you want to improve your life, it means you have to accept we need problems in order to grow and to move forward. Agree? So think of the shoelaces. If we'd have wished it away, or we'd have wished away the problem of not being able to ride a bike, or whatever that was, or when we've fallen over 10, 50, 100 times as a baby, if we'd have wished that problem away, we had the ability to at that age, you wouldn't be able to walk, you wouldn't be able to tie your shoelaces, you wouldn't be able to ride a bike. So it's about accepting that these things are here, and by getting over that problem, that's where we move forward. So Albert Einstein said this, pretty smart guy, would you agree? Albert Einstein said, we can't solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. We can't solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. So what it means is we've got a problem here. In order to get past that problem, we need a higher level of thinking, because that level of thinking created that particular problem. We need a higher level of thinking in order to get past the problem. Can you see that? So I want you to think of it like this. Imagine this ceiling, and I put a post on about this morning. So imagine right now, none of you are at a point where you feel like your life's completely at threat. You might be a little bit out of your comfort zone. So you might have come here, you might have come by yourself, you might be a little bit unsure, you might be thinking, what is this all about? Or you might be slightly uncomfortable in bigger audiences. But you all know that right now your life's not under immediate threat. Would you agree? There's not somebody trying to kill you right now. So you've got a level of your ceiling. So imagine this is your ceiling. So between you and your head of that pain, that tolerance of stress, of the threat, you might be out your comfort zone a little bit, but you know that you're not at the ceiling height of somebody trying to take your life. So what happens, guys, is this. If you don't push forward and grow, the ceiling comes down on you. And it's that thing of, like I said, so you might be comfortable initially going downtown and shopping, and then you regress from that to only going on a quiet day, and the ceiling comes down on you. This is your new comfort zone. So the ceiling will automatically come down on your head each time. So now you're only comfortable going to shops when there's not too many people about. Ceiling comes down on your head again. And now we only get comfortable going to the corner shop. Ceiling comes down on us again. And now we're only comfortable being around our family. Ceiling comes down on us again. So you're either pushing against the ceiling or the ceiling's going to come down on you. It's as simple as that. So what I believe in is getting ourselves out of our comfort zone. So if you've come in this room, and some of you have admitted that you're a bit uncomfortable with that, I want you to give a big round of applause to them people that have done that right now. Because what you've just done now is you've just pushed your ceiling up a bit. You've just pushed against your ceiling. You've done something where you're out of your comfort zone, so now that moves up. And when you go and have a cup of tea or something in a bit after the break, do you think you'll be a bit more relaxed than what you were this morning coming back to your seat? And then you go and meet some great people over the next couple of days. Do you think you're going to be even more relaxed tomorrow? Absolutely, because you've pushed the ceiling up and you've created yourself some new room to play with. So the more we get out of our comfort zone, the more we'll lift that ceiling height. It's as simple as that. So bearing in mind, the problem isn't going away, and neither is the pain. And when we can accept that, we can move forward, because we go, right, we're always going to have problems, and we're always going to have pain. So it's rather, I head it on, and I keep pushing the ceiling up, and the higher that ceiling goes, this is the great thing about pushing against the pain, because the higher that ceiling goes, you've now got all of this room and all of these activities that you can do, and you're still in your comfort zone. Your new ceiling now might be speaking in front of an audience this size. But if you then speak in front of an audience this size, guess what happens? Ceiling moves up. If you do it over and over again, the ceiling moves up. So your new ceiling now might be speaking in front of 1,000 people. So you're really comfortable speaking at an audience this size, and it now shifts up to 1,000 people. Can you see that? So I want you to accept them two things, guys. It's not a magic pill. Problems aren't going away, and neither are your pain. So it's either we keep regressing and the ceiling comes down, or we push against it and we keep lifting it up, meaning we've now got more room to do different things that aren't going to cause us any stress. Okay? Something else I want to cover. Validation and approval. So validation and approval. What time are we on? Let me have a look. One of the main reasons why people get upset and feel stress in their life is because you're looking for approval of other people. Raise your hands if you do that. Raise your hands nice and high, and then I want you all to look around the room. Now look at that, guys. Look at that. Practically the full room. This is one of the last skills to master. It's one of the most common ones, and it's one of the last ones to master. That we're all looking for validation and approval of other people. So we think, why didn't that person answer my text? Why has that person deleted me off Facebook? Why didn't I get invited to that party? What's that person looking at? Why did he look down there? Is there something wrong with me? And we're trying to fit into these boxes all of the time. Because the subconscious mind, its primary role, does anyone know what it is? The subconscious mind is to keep you safe, absolutely. So the subconscious mind, its primary role is to keep you safe. It wants to keep you in your comfort zone. But the issue with that, like we said, you stay in your comfort zone and the ceiling comes down and we get a new level of tolerance. The subconscious mind, our mind hasn't been able to, from the days of running away from tigers and real life threats and cavemen wanting to club us on the head, we have that same fear. So raise your hands if you'd have that level of fear if I was to bring you up on the stage. Okay, most of you. Because public speaking is one of the things that humans, for whatever reason, are more scared about. And I'll talk into why. Because if you think about it now, raise your hands if you talk every day. And raise your hands if you know someone who talks a lot every day. Yeah. My daughter said this morning when she was on the way here, because we've got two other special speakers that I didn't mention. So my daughter, Sadie, give us a little wave. Nice big one. There she is at the back. And Sadie spoke at this event every single time. And then she's got somebody who she's going to be assisting this time, which is Ariana. And she's only 4 years old. And she's going to be sharing a little poem with you. So Sadie and Ariana are going to come on the stage and they're going to share a little bit with you guys. So if we think around this thing around the safety, the subconscious mind, its primary role is to keep us safe. And Sadie said to me this morning, I said, we don't know how many people will be there because it's a free event and the numbers can fluctuate quite a bit. And I said, I'm going to guess there's about 60 people, but there might be somewhere nearer to 100. And she said, well, I hope it's 60. And I said, why? And she said, because that's less people I'm speaking to. And I said to her that it makes no difference, babes. You're going to be speaking exactly the same. And as long as you're focused on you and your message, and you don't need validation and approval, then what does it matter if there's 1, 10, 50, 100, or 10,000 people in the room? You're still speaking and your message is exactly the same. So I want you guys to be thinking about this too. You do not need validation and approval. You are good enough. And the reason we look for that is it comes from conditioning as a child. So nobody, raise your hands if you've ever wanted to be embarrassed and bullied. Oh, nobody. So when we go to school, what do you think you try to do? What does the subconscious mind want to do? You want to blend in. You want to blend in because we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to be bullied. So naturally we blend into our environment. But unfortunately we carry that on into our adult life. It stays with us. Where if we don't fit in or we're a little bit different, then it's that fear of standing out. What will people think about us? How will they judge us? Accept right now that you're good enough. And over these 2 days, myself and the other speakers are going to be working on building your confidence, your skill set, so you walk out of them doors in 2 days' time and you start to accept that you are good enough, that you don't need validation. You don't need to count how many people are on your Facebook, how many people liked that it's your birthday and wished you a happy birthday? Raise your hands if you count your birthday wishes, because I used to do it for fucking years. So if I do it, I know that yous do it. Raise your hands if you do it. Okay, look around the room. There we go. It doesn't mean anything. It's no sign of anything at all of how many people wished you happy birthday or liked your posts. Get comfortable with not even looking at it. Get comfortable with not even a look at how many people liked or how many people wished you a happy birthday. Focus more on you are worthy enough. Because the chances of you being here are trillions to one. Think about it. Your parents had to meet, and then their parents had to meet, and their parents had to meet, and their parents had to meet for thousands of people down the line, all at the perfect moment in order for you to be here right now. The chances on it are trillions to one. I think it's something like 3 trillion to 1 of you being here. 3 trillion to 1. So I want you to accept that you're good enough. I want you to accept you don't need approval from anybody else. You don't need validation. Start to look at who you surround yourself with. Start to look at who you put yourself around. Maybe put yourself around people who are a little bit more positive. People who are going to inspire you. People who are going to encourage you. We all know that one negative person, right? Who no matter what we do, can always find something to fault or pull us down. Raise your hands if you all know somebody who does that. Look around the room. Look at that, guys. Their opinions mean little. It's as simple as that. Take your advice from people in your peer groups that are going to lift you. People that are going to take you to the next stage. People who want to see you grow. People who want to see you develop. People who will give you honest feedback. Okay? What time are we on? Give me a check. How long have I got? Okay. I've got half an hour, yeah? Okay, can we put a slide on the board, please? Some of you will be familiar with this. This is something that I teach on my property training. Raise your hands if you've seen it. Okay, good. You're going to be giving me the answers. So, this is a model that I created myself. Do I have a laser? If not, it's all right. This is a model that I created myself, and I call it the cycle of performance. The cycle of performance. So I want to talk to you what this model is and what it means for you and how you can actually start to use it in your own life. Thanks, Scott. Cheers. Okay. So you can write this down if you've got pen and paper. The R is results. It's our results. Now, I know that you're looking to improve your results because you've told me, and you wouldn't be in the room if you weren't. If you weren't looking to improve your results in at least one area of your life, you wouldn't be in the room to start off with. Okay? So no matter what it is, guys, whatever that result is for you, it might be better relationships. It could be more money. It could be a promotion within your workplace. It could be new friends. It could be starting a new hobby. It could be a personal best in some sort of physical activity that you do. Whatever that is, we're looking to improve the result. There's something that controls our results, begins with an A. What is it? Actions. Good. It's your actions. So quite self-explanatory. Take a certain sort of action, get a certain type of result. Everyone agree with that? There's something, though, that's controlling our actions, and it begins with a D. What is it? It's your decisions. Good. So write that down. It's your decisions. And you're making thousands of decisions every single day. And those decisions that you've made have got you to where you are today. They've brought you in this room today. And there'll be some people that were going to come to this event, but they got uncomfortable this morning and thought about there being too many people in the room, and they didn't actually come. So the ceiling will come down. So the decision for some people was not to come. Action, stayed in bed. Result, don't move any further forward. For you guys, you made a decision to come here, took the action, and the result will be, over the 2 days, you're going to come away with more tools for your toolbox. That's my aim for you guys. Nothing more than that. If I give you more tools in your toolbox, and maybe it's in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, it might be immediately for a lot of you at the end of the event. You'll come out with a new clarity, a new way of looking things. And for some people, it might be 3 months, 6 months when you've got a new job or a new promotion, or things are starting to fall in place in your life. And it might just be a simple message, or you might pass me in the street and say, hey, I was at one of your events a year ago, and I just want to tell you, off the back of that, I've done that, that, and that. That's my work. That's my purpose. If I get that from people, that's the reason why I'm stood here today putting this event on. There's something that controls our decisions, and it begins with an E. Emotions. Good. Your emotions. Raise your hands if you've ever made a decision when you've been highly emotional and you've regretted it. If you haven't got your hands up, you're a liar. So, emotions control our decisions. And the decisions control the actions. Actions control the result. There's something controlling our emotions. It begins with a T. Thoughts. Good. Your thoughts. Your thoughts. Who's controlling your thoughts, or at least has the ability to? You do. Agree? Raise your hands if you'd agree with that. Yeah. Nobody wakes up on a morning and puts a little program into your head. It's you. It's your thoughts. It's what's happening. Nobody external does that. So therefore, if you control your own thoughts, or at least have the ability to, who's controlling how you feel? You are. You are controlling how you feel by where we put our focus and what are we thinking about. So it's that perception. What are we looking at? So if we can become mindful of this and increase our awareness on our thinking, and we can start to dictate where those thoughts are, where we want to place them, we can shift our emotions. So an example, you've seen how many of you put your hand up for looking for approval and validation off other people. And if that was, for example, it's your birthday, and you've gone on Facebook and you're counting up your birthday messages, and you only got 42, and last year you got 45, and you're now going, what have I done? I'm further behind. I must have pissed people off. And now you're on this big thought train, trying to play back the last 365 days of who you've upset and who them 3 people are that haven't wished you a happy birthday. How do you think you feel all day? Crap. Agree. Whereas if we have the awareness of where we place our thoughts, we can start to control our emotions. I'm going to come into this a little bit more in a minute. There's something, though, that's controlling our thoughts, and it begins with a B. What is it? Your beliefs. Good. Your beliefs. So these are your programs. These are your programs. This is a little bit like the hard drive on a computer. A little bit like the hard drive on a computer. So you all have your own beliefs. We all have our own beliefs. These are our programs. And we're running in a subconscious state. Can anyone tell me roughly how much we're in a subconscious state each day? 90%. So 90% of a day, average, you are on autopilot. You are running off these beliefs. Where did them beliefs come from? Where do they come from? They come internally and externally. Conditioning, yeah, so that would be external. So where do we get conditioning from? What type of people influence us? Parents, teachers, media, friends, yeah. So these people are having an influence on our beliefs. And this is why I'm saying, guys, if you put yourself around a better quality person, you'll start to shift your beliefs, because you'll start to look and go, hey, if he did it and she did it and he did it, and I can see how they done it, your belief starts to shift. Can you see that? Ever heard that term of he's got in with the wrong crowd, or she's got in with the wrong crowd? And maybe you've experienced that yourself at some point in your life. They say that if you knock around with 5 drug dealers, 5 people taking drugs, you'll become the 6th. If you knock around with 5 millionaires, guess what? You'll become the 6th. So start to think about who you put yourself around, because they are impacting your beliefs. So that would be externally. How do our beliefs come internally? How do our beliefs come internally? From experiences, absolutely, from experiences. So raise your hands if you can resonate with this. Maybe you've tried something, didn't think you could do it, and actually done it, and was pleasantly surprised and went, hey, I didn't think I could do that. Raise your hands if you've done that before. Okay. So what that does is when we have that experience or something like that, that shifts your belief. It raises it to, hey, I can do that. Actually, I've done that quite well. So we actually lift our belief. We start to change the internal programming. There's something that's controlling our beliefs, and it is a belief. It's 2 words. Self-image. Good. It's your self-image. So your self-image is what you believe about yourself. Your self-image is what you believe about yourself. So what you believe about yourself is impacting the type of beliefs that you're susceptible to. And those beliefs, then programs, are controlling your thoughts, because we're in a subconscious state. These are your programs, and we're just running on autopilot. And they're controlling your thoughts. Thoughts are controlling your emotions. Emotions control your decisions. Decisions are controlling your actions. Actions control your results, but then we have a full circle, because your results impact your self-image. What do you think it does if you keep getting a crappy result over and over and over and over again? Yeah, it lowers your self-image. But if we keep getting a good result, what do you think it does to the self-image? It rises it, it boosts it, absolutely. So the secret is, guys, is going around this circle and understanding it, and if we keep getting a good result, your self-image will keep lifting. And the more your self-image lifts, the more susceptible you are to good beliefs. You're impacting your thoughts in a more positive way. You're going to have better emotions, make better decisions, better quality actions, meaning you'll get a better result, meaning you'll lift your self-image again. And it keeps going round on a cycle. And that's all I'm doing. There's nothing special about me or my results. I'm just progressing forward, small amounts, but consistently. And because of that, I keep lifting this. So this building here, maybe some of you partied in here. Did anyone come to Manhattan's? Any, okay, raise your hands, a few of you. So some of you have been in here and actually danced on this dance floor. I didn't start off by doing a 25,000 square foot project. I started off with 1 2-bedroom bungalow, and I was shitting my pants in case I didn't get a tenant, in case a tenant trashed it, in case all of these things that my dad told me came true, I bought 1 2-bedroom bungalow. And the result was, it actually worked out all right. And I went, hey, that wasn't that bad. That was all right. I've got a tenant. She's paying the rent. It's all working. Self-image lifts. I'll get another one. I get another one. I repeat the process. It lifts again. So my belief starts to go, hey, this isn't that hard. I can do this. And if I've got 2, guess what? I could probably get 3 or get 4. So this programming now is shifting my thoughts. My thoughts are looking for more properties. I believe I can get more, so I start to think that way. My emotions, I start to become more confident. So decisions is I'll buy another one. Actions, I go view more properties. Results, get a good result, I lift my self-image. And I go from a 2-bedroom bungalow to a 3-bedroom house, to a block of flats, to developing buildings, developing pubs, to developing 25,000 square foot buildings. Can you see that? There's nothing special about me at all, guys. I'm just moving forward. I'm just progressing. And if you keep progressing and you're conscious of this model, your self-image will keep lifting. And the more your self-image lifts, the more you'll let go of needing approval and a validation and all of these things. So I know that as long as I show up the best that I can, that's all I can ask of myself. That's it. And if I come from a place of love and being genuine, I can put my head on a pillar at night knowing I didn't try to shaft anyone, I haven't tried to ruin anyone's life, and I came from that good place, and that's all I need to think about. One thing, just showing up the best that I can. That's all I think about. And I don't care about, I don't think, shit, he isn't looking at me down there, he's looking at his phone, so he doesn't like me, shit, and she definitely doesn't like me. I'm not doing any of that, guys. Some of you will leave here and go, that was fucking awesome. And some of you might go, wasn't that keen on him, he's a bit weird. I'm all right with that. Because would you agree that I can't be that person for each of you? It's not who I am on here, it's your perception, that's your shit to deal with. It's not mine, that's your shit. So wherever you're thinking in your head right now, that's yours. That's your problem, it's not mine. All I've got to do is come from the right place, which I do. I want to serve you all, and I want you to leave with more tools in your toolbox. That's my aim. So, quick time check. About to wrap up. So, in the middle, our inner core, we have V. What is this? Our values. Good, your values. So, I want you to write this down. It's very important. There's 2 things that are controlling your life. They've always controlled your life, and they will continue to control your life until the day that you leave this place in this form. And they are your beliefs and values. That's what's controlling everything that you do, your beliefs and values. So here's what happens, guys, when somebody is depressed. So I've had it, and certainly in this area, so raise your hands if you're local, probably most of you, a good chunk of you. So I've had it where my little cousins committed suicide, and my brother knocked on my door to tell me that day, crying his eyes out on a Sunday morning, and I seen him at my door. My brother would not be at my door on a Sunday morning crying his eyes out. And when I opened the door, he could barely speak, and he told me that our little cousin had taken his own life, hung himself. A few years ago, my best mate in the army hung himself as well. So I've experienced this at a very, very close level. And I'm sure that if you're from the local area, certainly this area, then you at least know of people who's done this, because Teesside has got one of the highest rates of suicide. So when somebody feels that the world would be a better place without them, it's because this self-image just keeps coming down and down and down and down and down, and they actually think the world would be a better place without them. It's not because they're selfish. It's not because they're selfish. They are not thinking that. They truly believe in their minds that they will leave the world and the world will be a better place without them. That's what they believe. That's why they do it. They're not thinking, I'm going to leave my kids, sod them, they'll be all right. They're not in that place. They're just thinking that I don't want to be here and I can't handle this particular pain. And what's sad for me is I've taken people from ultra-depressed states that have planned to take their own life. They had the method of how they were going to do it. They had the date planned of exactly when and where they were going to do it. And these people now are winning competitions, they're coaches, they're happily married, and they're very, very successful in their lives. And that saddens me, because anyone who's in that situation at all, I know I have the ability to take them out of there to here. If only they had more tools in the toolbox. If only they had more tools in the toolbox. Because they try to struggle through with just their hammer. So I want to wrap up with this, guys. I want you to think of this. When I was in my state of PTSD, I'd become my thoughts. I'd become my thoughts. I wasn't somebody observing my thoughts. I'd become them. So this had become my world. This belief that people have when they're in that depressed state of thinking, why does nobody like me? Why have I only got X amount of likes on my Facebook? And they're going through a series of all of these thoughts here. The belief is that they're the thoughts, they're now triggering the emotion. Some people don't like it when I say this, but this is absolutely true. Not 99.9%, but 100%. No emotion ever happens without a thought. Ever. It's impossible. No emotion ever happens without a thought. So when people say, some days I just feel crappy, all as it means is they're not aware, they're not conscious of the thought that's creating the emotion. That's all that it means. Now, bearing in mind, how much of a day are we in a subconscious state for? 90%. So 90% of the day, we aren't even aware of what we're thinking about. We're not even aware of what we're doing. You weren't aware of the pressure on your ass until I just brought your attention to it. It was always there. You didn't need to know that information. So the subconscious mind is filtering out all of this stuff constantly. Raise your hands if you've ever walked anywhere or drove anywhere and you've went, oh shit, I'm here. And you can't remember anything about it. That's the subconscious mind that's guided you there. That's the powerhouse. But unfortunately, we're in that state 90% of the time. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. If ever you feel frustrated, if ever you feel angry, if ever you feel sad or a little bit low, ask yourself this question. What is the thought that I'm having right now that's creating this emotion? What is the thought that I'm having right now that's creating this emotion? Because there has to be one. This doesn't happen 99.9% of the times. It happens 100% of the time. That's how we're wired up. So once you get a grasp of this, of the something triggering these emotions, and you've got a higher level of awareness, we can now start to observe our thoughts rather than becoming them. And this is the big difference. So rather than becoming the thought, and you're just wrapped up in this cycle without even realizing you're in the cycle, you're just having the thoughts, you're having the emotions, and you're making the decisions off the back of this. We can now absorb this model, and we can observe what we're actually doing. So we can observe the thoughts that we are having. And when you do that, you can disconnect from this pattern. Because I want to ask you a question now before I wrap up. Raise your hands now if you've ever had a thought about something happening and you've got stressed out or worried and that thing never happened. Raise your hands. Look around the room. Keep your hands up and look around the room. That is proof, guys, that we have thoughts that are not needed. We have thoughts that sometimes are not reality. And by understanding this model and awareness, we can start to observe that actually this is just a thought. We have 30,000 thoughts a day. 30,000. Most of them are redundant. Most of them are thinking about the stuff yesterday. Most of them are thinking about things in the future that don't even happen. So it's about being present in the moment. This model here has just put another tool in your toolbox. So you now have another 2 more. So you came this morning potentially with only 1, and that's fine. You now have 2 more in your toolbox. And for the rest of today and tomorrow, the coaches and trainers are going to put more tools in your toolbox. Thank you.